Let's talk about why anticipation is the most powerful weapon you can use if you want to give him an experience he'll never forget. Most people think pleasure begins when the physical contact starts, but in reality, the real spark begins long before that moment. The truth is, desire doesn't just live in the body, it lives in the mind. What you do before you even touch him will determine how deep and unforgettable the actual moment feels. Anticipation is about creating a hunger, a craving that builds in waves, so by the time you give him what he wants, it feels 10 times more intense than it would have if you had rushed straight in. Think about this for a second. If he always knows exactly what's coming next, there's no mystery, there's no chase, and without the chase, there's no fire. Human psychology is wired to crave the things that are just slightly out of reach. If he feels like you're about to give everything and then you pull back with a smile, you're not teasing him cruelly, you're heightening his senses. You're making his brain and body beg for what's next. That's the sweet spot where pleasure starts to expand, a kiss that lingers just a little longer than expected, a touch that almost travels to where he wants it but stops an inch short, or even just a pause in the middle of the moment. All of these create that delicious tension he'll remember. The mistake people often make is they rush. They think intensity comes from giving more faster. But real intensity comes from holding back. When you let silence and slowness play their role, you're actually controlling the entire pace of the experience. That's power. That's you deciding that you won't give it all at once because you know the build-up is the most intoxicating part. Imagine giving him the sense that every second with you is leading to something even better, but he has to wait for it. That's not just physical arousal, it's emotional engagement, and that's why it becomes unforgettable. And here's the part most people miss. Anticipation isn't only physical, it can start hours before you're even together. A message that hints at what's to come, a playful look across the room, or even the way you deliberately brush past him. All of these are signals that plant seeds in his mind. By the time you actually touch him, he's already halfway there. His imagination has been working over time, and when imagination joins forces with reality, the result is explosive. It's also about how you carry yourself in those moments. If you're calm, confident and deliberate, he feels it. He senses that you're in control, that you know exactly what you're doing, and that alone is incredibly exciting. Anticipation isn't about dragging things out until it becomes boring. It's about giving him just enough to stay hooked, keeping his focus locked on you, and making every second feel like a step closer to something extraordinary. So don't think of anticipation as a delay. Think of it as the amplifier. Every second you stretch out the build-up, you're multiplying the final release. You're making sure that when it finally happens, it's not just good, it's unforgettable. Because what he'll remember isn't just the end, but the way you made the entire journey feel like it was worth waiting for. Presence is one of the most underrated elements of intimacy, yet it's the very thing that transforms an ordinary moment into something unforgettable. When you give someone your full attention, when you look at them as though nothing else exists in that instant, you create a level of connection that no technique alone can achieve. The truth is, anyone can learn physical moves, but what stays with him long after the experience is how you made him feel while you were with him. And the easiest way to make him feel desired, seen, and craved is by mastering the power of eye contact and presence. Imagine how it feels when someone looks directly into your eyes and holds that gaze with confidence. It sends a signal that says, "You're mine in this moment." That alone can be more electrifying than touch because it removes all distractions and grounds him in the here and now. When your eyes lock onto his, you're not just looking at him. You're telling him he matters, you're telling him he's chosen, and that he's worth savoring. That kind of attention creates vulnerability, and vulnerability always heightens pleasure. It's not about staring intensely every second. It's about those deliberate moments where your gaze lingers a little longer than expected, as if you're letting him know he has your complete focus. Presence also comes through the way you touch. When your mind is elsewhere, your touch feels mechanical, as though you're going through the motions. But when you slow down, when you actually pay attention to how his body reacts, you start to touch in a way that feels intentional. You notice the small shifts in his breathing, the way his body tenses or softens, and you respond. That responsiveness tells him you're not just there to perform, you're there to connect. And in that moment, every brush of your hand, every movement of your lips feels amplified because it's wrapped in presence. Even your voice becomes part of this energy. The way you whisper something softly, the way you say his name at the right time, the way you let your tone drop lower and slower, it all adds to the feeling that you're not just doing something to him, you're experiencing it with him. That's the difference between physical satisfaction and unforgettable intimacy. When he feels like you are as deeply invested in the moment as he is, his mind and body sync together, and that's when it becomes something he'll never forget. Another powerful aspect of presence is removing hurry. Rushing kills intensity. If you're thinking about the next move or worrying about how you look, you lose the magic. But when you sink into the moment, when you let every second unfold without concern for what's coming next, you radiate a calm confidence that he can feel. It tells him, I'm exactly where I want to be, and I'm enjoying this as much as you are. That energy is contagious, and it pulls him deeper into the experience with you. Presence is also about exclusivity. In a world full of distractions, being fully absorbed in someone feels rare. When he senses that your mind isn't wandering, that you're not comparing, that you're not just half there but completely his in that instant, he feels special. And that's the memory that lingers. Not just the physical sensation, but the fact that you gave him your undivided attention and made him feel like the center of your universe. So much of unforgettable intimacy is built on simplicity, and presence is the clearest example of that. It doesn't require tricks. It doesn't require perfection. It requires you to show up fully, eyes, mind, body, and energy aligned in one direction. If you can do that, every kiss, every touch, every moment becomes magnified. Because what makes it unforgettable is not just what you did. It's that you were truly there and he felt it. When it comes to unforgettable pleasure, one of the most common mistakes people make is focusing too much on one obvious place and forgetting that the entire body is capable of feeling. If all your attention goes to one predictable spot, he'll enjoy it. But it won't surprise him, and without surprise, there's no spark. What takes things from ordinary to extraordinary is your willingness to explore beyond the obvious, to use variety, and to keep his senses on edge by giving him something different than what he expects. Exploration isn't just about physical technique, it's about curiosity, creativity, and the confidence to wander into places he didn't even realize could bring him that much intensity. The body is full of sensitive areas that often get ignored because people assume they don't matter. But when you trace your hands or lips somewhere he doesn't anticipate, you create a reaction that is much stronger than if you simply followed the same routine. The back of his neck, his ears, his inner thighs, his lower back, even the way you run your nails lightly across his chest. All of these create a rush that connects straight to his mind. What you're really doing in those moments is telling him, I know there's more to you than what everyone else sees, and I'm not afraid to find it. That sense of novelty is what makes the experience stand out in his memory. Exploration is also about rhythm and pressure. If your touch is always the same, his body adjusts and the excitement fades. But when you change it, when you alternate between soft and firm, slow and fast, you're constantly keeping him in a state of wonder. He never quite knows what's coming next, and that uncertainty fuels his desire. The brain craves variety. It releases more pleasure chemicals when it's surprised. So, By mixing up your pace, your movements, and your focus, you're not just giving him physical pleasure, you're creating an emotional roller coaster that he'll never forget. It's also worth remembering that men aren't just physical beings, their arousal is deeply mental. When you deliberately explore areas beyond what's obvious, you're signaling playfulness and creativity, which engages his imagination as much as his body. He starts thinking, what is she going to do next? And that thought alone keeps him on the edge. This isn't about complicated moves. It's about being unpredictable in simple but effective ways. A pause where he didn't expect one. A sudden switch of attention, a playful bite, or a gentle kiss in a place that's usually ignored. These small changes create huge impact. And while exploration is exciting for him, it also benefits you. It gives you the chance to slow down, to feel more in control, to read his responses and understand what really drives him wild. The more curious you are, the more confident you become, because you're no longer following a script, you're writing your own. That sense of freedom and play turns intimacy into a shared adventure, rather than just a routine. The unforgettable part of pleasure isn't about hitting one note over and over. It's about creating a melody. Think of it as music. If you play the same sound repeatedly, it gets dull. But when you mix highs and lows, soft beats and powerful crescendos, it becomes something that stirs emotion and stays in memory. That's exactly what exploration does. It gives you the chance to orchestrate an experience that builds, shifts, and surprises until he's completely immersed in it. So don't limit yourself to what's predictable. Use your hands, your lips, your voice, your whole presence to awaken parts of him he didn't know could feel that good. Keep him guessing, keep him engaged, and most importantly, keep it playful. Because what he'll remember most is not just the climax itself, but the journey you took him on, the way you discovered him piece by piece, the way you kept his body and mind alive with curiosity. That's what makes him think back to it again and again, long after it's over. Pace is everything. It's the rhythm that decides whether a moment feels forgettable or whether it feels like it's pulling him into something he can't resist. Most people think passion is about speed, about going harder and faster as soon as the energy builds, but that's where they miss the point. The truth is, what makes an experience unforgettable is not staying at one speed, but knowing how to shift gears, when to slow down, when to build up, and when to surprise him with intensity. It's the contrast between soft and powerful, slow and fast, that creates the kind of pleasure that stays etched in his memory. Think about how music works. A song that plays one constant beat isn't moving. It doesn't stir emotion. But when the tempo rises, pauses, and then drops back down, it creates a wave that makes you feel alive. Intimacy is no different. If you rush to the high point, you skip the part that makes it worth remembering. Pace is about teasing his body into a state where he never feels completely in control of what comes next. When you slow things down deliberately, it forces him to focus, to feel every detail, every touch, every breath. That slowness intensifies his awareness. And then, when you suddenly increase the intensity, it's explosive because his body has been craving the release you've been holding back. The art of pace is also about patience. It's tempting to give everything quickly, but the magic is in knowing that holding back creates tension, and tension is the root of unforgettable pleasure. If you let each touch linger, if you let silence and stillness hang for just a few seconds longer than he expects, you're building a pressure inside him that he can't ignore. He starts to lean into you, waiting, wanting, almost begging for you to move faster. That's where you hold the power, because you're showing him that you won't just give it all away. You'll make him wait for the moments that count. Another layer to pace is unpredictability. If you're always steady, he adjusts and his body gets used to the rhythm. But if you switch it up, slowing when he expects fast, pausing when he expects more, giving bursts of intensity when he least expects it, you're keeping his senses alive. That unpredictability makes him stay fully present, because he doesn't know what's coming next. It's like a ride he can't get off, and he doesn't want to, because the thrill is in not knowing where the next turn will be. Presence also ties into pace, because when you're truly there, you can read him. You'll notice the moments when he's breathing heavier, when his body stiffens with anticipation, when his muscles twitch under your touch. Those are signals that tell you exactly when to hold back, when to build, and when to release. You're not just moving with no awareness, you're sensing your rhythm with his reactions, and that makes it feel like a dance where both of you are in perfect step, even though you're the one leading. And the key is not to be afraid of silence or stillness. Pausing can be more powerful than constant movement. It creates suspense. It makes him aware of how badly he wants more. That single pause can make the next touch feel 10 times stronger, simply because he's been waiting for it. This isn't about dragging things out to the point of frustration. It's about knowing when to slow, when to intensify, and when to let go. Unforgettable intimacy is never about rushing through. It's about crafting an experience where the rhythm keeps him engaged, where every shift in pace makes him feel like he's discovering new layers of you. If you can master that, if you can treat pace like the heartbeat of the moment, you'll give him something he can't forget. Because his body won't just remember the release, it will remember the journey, the waves, and the way you controlled time itself in those moments. The body alone can only take you so far. What truly makes an experience unforgettable is when the mind is as engaged as the body. Physical touch can bring pleasure, but when you combine it with mental and emotional stimulation, that's when it becomes something far deeper. Words, whispers, and affirmations aren't just background noise. They are tools that can heighten everything he feels. When you speak into the moment, when you use your voice as deliberately as your touch, you give him an experience that doesn't just stay on his skin, but sinks into his memory. Men often crave more than they admit. They don't just want the physical release, they want to feel admired, wanted, and powerful in your presence. The way you use your words can tap into that desire instantly. A soft whisper in his ear, a playful comment, or even just saying his name in the right tone can send shivers through his body. That's because the brain processes words faster than physical sensation, and when his mind hears what he craves while his body feels your touch, it amplifies everything at once. He's not just reacting physically, he's responding emotionally to the validation and intimacy you're giving him. It's not only about what you say, but how you say it, lowering your voice, slowing your speech, letting pauses hang in the air. These techniques create suspense in the same way changes in touch create anticipation. Your tone can turn the simplest sentence into something that makes his heart race. And when you align your words with your touch, when what you're saying matches what you're doing, it creates harmony between his mind and his body. That's the kind of alignment that locks a memory into place because it hits on multiple levels at once. But don't underestimate the power of imagination. A well-placed whisper can plant a picture in his mind that carries more weight than any physical act in the moment, suggesting what might come next, hinting at what you want to do, or teasing him with something you haven't given yet makes his brain work over time. Desire isn't just about the now, it's about anticipation of the future. When you feed his imagination, you're letting him feel things that haven't even happened yet. And when you finally deliver, it feels even stronger because he's already been living it in his head. Confidence also comes through your words. If you speak with certainty, if you let him hear in your tone that you know what you're doing, it reassures him and excites him at the same time. There's nothing more unforgettable than being with someone who is unapologetically confident in expressing what they want and what they're giving. That kind of energy makes him feel secure and desired, which only intensifies his connection to you. Engaging the mind also means paying attention to the little details that make him feel seen. A compliment in the right moment, a reminder that you love the way he responds to you, or telling him exactly what he's doing to you emotionally or physically. These are affirmations that go deeper than any move could. They tell him he's not just another body to you, he's someone you're fully present with, someone who has the ability to affect you deeply. That sense of importance creates emotional intimacy, and when emotional intimacy meets physical pleasure, it becomes unforgettable. So if you want to create something he'll never forget, don't just think about what your hands are doing. Think about what your voice is saying, what your eyes are expressing, and how you're engaging his imagination. The mind is the amplifier of the body. The more you involve it, the more powerful every sensation becomes. What he'll remember long after isn't only the way it felt, but the way you made him feel wanted, powerful, and deeply connected. That combination of physical and mental stimulation is what leaves a lasting mark, and it's what makes the difference between good and unforgettable. Confidence is the ingredient that binds everything together. You can have anticipation, presence, variety, pace, and even the right words, but without confidence, all of it loses power. Confidence is not about arrogance or pretending you're perfect. It's about owning yourself in the moment, trusting your ability to create connection, and not second guessing whether what you're doing is enough. When you show up with that kind of self-assured energy, he feels it instantly, and it transforms the entire experience into something unforgettable. Think about it. If you hesitate, if you constantly question yourself, that doubt translates into your touch, your voice, and your energy. It makes everything feel uncertain. But when you move with certainty, when you kiss like you mean it, touch like you know the effect it's going to have, and look into his eyes without breaking away, you radiate something magnetic. He doesn't just enjoy the physical side of it, he gets drawn into your aura, into the confidence that tells him you're in control and you're fully embracing the moment. That's the kind of energy that lingers long after it's over. Confidence also frees you from the trap of comparison. Many people ruin intimacy by asking themselves, am I doing this better than someone else? Am I good enough? The truth is, unforgettable pleasure doesn't come from comparing. It comes from authenticity. When you're completely present, giving him your full attention, and unapologetically expressing your own desires, you're already giving him something unique that no one else can replicate. Confidence allows you to stop imitating and start creating. It lets you bring your true personality, your playfulness, your fire into the moment, and that individuality is what makes you unforgettable. And confidence doesn't mean you never slow down or adjust. In fact, it gives you the strength to pay attention, to listen to his reactions, and to adapt without insecurity. When you notice his breathing change or his body respond, and you respond right back, you're showing mastery. You're saying, I know what I'm doing, and I'm not afraid to shift because I'm reading you. That responsiveness, wrapped in confidence, makes him feel like the two of you are completely in sync, which is far more powerful than sticking to a routine. Confidence also shows in the way you enjoy yourself. If you're too focused on whether he's pleased, you miss the chance to show him how much you're enjoying it too. When he sees your confidence in expressing your own pleasure, it's intoxicating. It tells him you're not just there to give, you're there to feel, to experience, to savor every second. That balance of giving and receiving creates a feedback loop where his excitement feeds off yours, and suddenly the moment becomes bigger than either of you expected. It's also important to understand that confidence removes fear of judgment. If you hesitate because you're worried about looking silly, sounding awkward, or making a mistake, you hold back parts of yourself that could actually make the experience richer. Confidence says, I don't need to be perfect, I just need to be real. That freedom to laugh, to be playful, to experiment, makes everything feel lighter, more fun, and ultimately more memorable. He won't remember a perfect script. He'll remember the energy of someone who was bold enough to fully show up. At the end of the day, Confidence is what allows you to bring all the other elements to life. Anticipation, presence, variety, pace, and words all mean more when delivered with certainty. Without it, everything feels weaker. With it, even the simplest kiss or touch can feel extraordinary. Confidence is the secret weapon that turns ordinary into unforgettable. Because it's not just about what you're doing, it's about the energy you carry while doing it. And that energy is what will stay with him long after the moment has passed.